So these are the contents we are going to discuss today. So what is Git and what is GitHub Actions and the core concepts of GitHub Actions. A simple CA workflow I can show you today and real-time use cases and course contents what we are going to discuss. Now, what is Git? So as we know, Git is a version control system, so which will track all our changes on source code files or any files. So let's take an example. Developers write the code to build an application, correct? So when application is started building actually, so we do have different types of developers like UI developer, backend developer, middleware developers. These many developers we have. So when they start writing their code, and if you want to deploy that application or build that application, we need to collectively have the code in somewhere, correct? To store that code in somewhere, we will use this version control system called Git. So in version control system, we do have different types of tools to store our source code. Version control system, we do have different types of tools we have. So the major and most commonly used tool we have is Git. So Git, what it will do, it will track all our changes on the source code files. So we will put all these files in a repository called GitHub repository. There we will put all these files so that anyone who has access to that repository can access those files. Now we will see few key points related to this version control system. Why we need this version control system? Suppose an example, our application has two developers. One developer writes the code for UI page, user interface page. One developer writes the code, developer one I can say. And backend developer we have developer two. He will write for the functionality of the backend. Okay. Now these two guys are working in their personal laptops, laptop one and laptop two. So they have written the code. So now what I do is, as a DevOps engineer, I need to take this code and deploy it in the cloud environment or any other environment. So now what I will do is, I will tell the developers that, so I do have a version control system called Git, so that you can use this version control system repository so that you can push the changes to Git repository. So that UI developer will push the changes to Git repository, and the same changes, backend changes will be repository to the same repository. Backend developer also will push the changes. So assume you are in the sense developers working in a project, they made a mistake saying that in terms of code changes. So now the application is not working. So in this case, GitHub will give you a feasibility. GitHub will give you a feasibility to go back to the working version and run the application properly. So that is where we will use versioning. So we will call it as versioning V1, V2, V3 like this. So V1 is a version I have developed and delivered my application at quarter one, I can say. Okay. In quarter two, I wanted to deliver my application with V2 changes. So in quarter two, I have delivered V2. So while deploying the V2 application, I am getting a lot of errors in the code. So application is not up and running. So that what I can do is, by using this GitHub versioning, the Q1, whatever the Q1 version we have deployed, we can restore it back to, like undoing the project, entire project. We can call undo. Correct. So something is not going well, then we can undo the changes, right? So that is the feasibility Git will provide us so that we can use this version control system. Now we'll see about GitHub. What is GitHub? Before going to the GitHub actions, we'll see what is GitHub. So GitHub is a platform or a website, we can call it as, hosting and managing our Git repositories in cloud. So I told you that UI and backend developer will push the changes to Git repository, right? So this is the Git repository. Git repository. So to manage hosting and managing Git repositories in cloud, we do have a platform or a website called GitHub. So GitHub is a platform platform or website. So what it will do, it will mainly host your Git repository and maintain your Git repository on. So by accessing the internet, we can access this GitHub and we can see our repositories and we can see our source code files over there. So they have built GitHub on top of it GitHub only. So what it will do is it will provide a web interface. So it will provide a web interface for your GitHub repositories. I'll show you the GitHub repository in a bit. So it will clearly gives you the web interface for your Git repositories, how many Git repositories you have in your project, and what repository is used for which project. We can see that one. So based on, and it will also give you support to collaborate, issue tracking, pull requests, actions. So I'll tell you each one by one. Collaboration means GitHub gives collaboration. Collaboration is nothing but, so if you want to hire one more backend engineer to your team or add your team so that he can contribute and collaborate to your project, saying that developing his code and pushing the code to the same repository which you are working currently. So, and you can put this public repository. So anyone from the cloud can collaborate your repository by creating a feature branches. So in Git, we do have branches. I'll explain you that in a bit. So this is what about collaboration GitHub gives. So from the UI, we can see the repository and we can contribute to the repository if it is a public repository. And then issue tracking. So issue tracking, it will also provide us issue tracking. So issue tracking is nothing but, so in GitHub, we do have a feature called issues. So there you can create issues. Like if you are familiar with the Jira or any other tracking tool, there we will create issues and work items and tasks and we can assign those to users, right? In the similar way, GitHub also provide you issue tracking means this is where you can create a issue, a work item or a task so that we can assign to our GitHub users. And do we have pull requests? Pull requests are nothing but whenever we have created any code changes, we will create through branches. So GitHub branches. So with the branches, we will change the changes. We'll update the changes. So majorly we have, by default, we have main or master branch in our Git repository. Now we will create a feature branch, feature slash UI. So what I'll do, I have created a feature slash UI. So now if we want to merge these changes to main or master branch, then we will use pull requests. And later we do have actions. Actions are nothing but where we can use all the build, testing, deployment, all this we can do with the help of this GitHub actions. So this is simply about Git and GitHub. Okay. So if I put it in a simple way, Git is a engine of your machine. Git is the engine of your machine. GitHub is the garage where you can online space or a store and to collaborate with our Git repositories. When you are going to learn this GitHub or GitHub actions, you need not to have any coding language. That is for sure. Okay. So now what you will learn in this entire course is, so developer is there to write the code, correct?
Yeah.
So developers will write the code and push the code to the repository. So now as a GitHub actions or a GitHub administrator or GitHub DevOps engineer, what you will do is you will take this code, what you will do, you will take this code and you will deploy that code to the cloud environment with help of GitHub actions. So if I put it in a simple way, this is your code repository, code repo, I can say. This is your cloud environment, cloud env where you wanted to put deploy your code. So as a GitHub engineer, GitHub DevOps engineer, You will use GitHub Actions to perform this task, right? So you will use GitHub Actions so that you will take the code, okay, and you will deploy the code to the cloud environment. So how you will do that? You will learn in this GitHub Actions course entirely. So on a high note, what you can learn is you can learn in this GitHub Actions course is how to build application first, how to build application, how to test application, and how to deploy application. So these are the major concepts you have to learn ready with in terms of GitHub Actions. So how to build, how to test, how to deploy. All this you can learn in the GitHub Actions with the help of workflows. Okay. There is a concept called workflows in GitHub. There you will learn all these concepts. So when this course is done, you are ready to deploy any type of application, from your repository to anywhere, to either it is a cloud environment or a local server or any Azure, GCP, AWS, any cloud environment you can deploy. So with this course, once you will learn with this course, you are ready to deploy any type of application with help of GitHub Actions. So once you have learned this course, you can give a certification attempt for GitHub Fundamentals, okay, GitHub Administration, GitHub Admin I can say. Next, GitHub Actions, okay, and we do have GitHub Security as well. So these are the different types of certifications we have. Once you are completed this course, you can give an attempt to any of this certification. So once you are done with this fundamentals, admin, and action certification, so that recruiters will get to know that if you get this GitHub action certifications, then you are aware the CI/CD process. Correct. So application deployments majorly involves this both CI and CD, continuous integration and continuous deployment. So by learning this GitHub actions, you are ready with the CI/CD process. So there is no specifically DevOps certification in the GitHub. GitHub Actions itself, where we can call it as DevOps certification. So what I'll do is I'll quickly open this GitHub certifications once.
When we will write the script and the application is ready and we are
Mm-hmm.
going to deploy to the AWS, so in the AWS, it will automatically create EC2 instance and network load balancer.
That one, yeah, that one also we can process with help of our GitHub Actions. So if
Yeah,
I want
because
to
what
create,
we are doing it now, we are pushing the code
mm-hmm.
and it is automatically creating the cluster, EC2
Correct,
instance,
correct, correct.
everything. It is automatically creating the
Yes,
name we have defined in the
mm,
process,
yes,
the
yes.
everything. So once we deploy that code, it
Mm-hmm.
automatically done everything in the AWS. So
AWS.
this we can do here also in this certification or in this course. We will do this.
Yeah, we can like what I can say you is, see, this is about GitHub Actions, right?
Yeah.
So GitHub Actions involves CI/CD process, continuous integration, and continuous deployment. Deployment to the environment. This is the AWS environment, you can say. Okay. So this is where I'll as an architect, as a cloud architect, will give you that where we need to deploy the application. Correct.
Yeah.
So if they say EC2 instance, EC2 instance, if they say. So we no need to create EC2 again and again for each and every deployment. Correct. We will
Yes.
create EC2 instance for one time. So this can also be achieved with help of GitHub Actions. That is what I'm saying. Creation of EC2 instance can be achieved with help of EC2 instance. GitHub Actions will be used to create EC2 instance. Okay. So once ETC instance is ready, then we will come back to our CI/CD process and we'll build the application, test the application, and we'll deploy the application to EC2 instance.
Okay.
Right. So creation of EC2 instance, that automation what you are telling, it will also be possible with our GitHub Actions.
Okay. So it means in AWS we don't need to create EC2 instance.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We
No,
don't need
no,
to
you don't
create.
need to manually. You don't need to create. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so no need to create EC2 instance. No need to create any storage, any network, any file,
Manually,
anything. So it will do
manually. I'm
it
saying.
automatically. It will create cluster also automatically, load balancing,
Yeah,
everything.
that is the configuration part we can talk about. So what I'm saying is, see, so as an architect, I have decided that EC2 instance I need. Okay, where my application will run ultimately. Okay. So what I will do is I'll write a GitHub workflow to create EC2 instance first, correct,
Yeah.
in my AWS. So I no need to log into my AWS portal. AWS portal I need to log in. I click on this, that, give details. All these things I don't need to do. So my workflow will do all these things. Okay, GitHub workflow will do all the details I provide in my GitHub workflow. So once I run this GitHub workflow, it will create EC2 instance for me in AWS. Clear?
Okay. Yeah, sure. Okay.
Yeah. Now, once the EC2 instance is ready, now we will run one CI/CD process. So it will take the code, test the code, and deploy the code to EC2 instance. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you are completed this GitHub Actions course, you are confident enough to deploy any type of application to anywhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you see, these are the GitHub certifications, you can call it as. So this is the certification phase. Okay. This is where you can see fundamental certification and then see GitHub action certification. See, this exam is designed for DevOps engineers. As I told you, we don't have a different separate DevOps certification name, but GitHub Actions itself it is called for DevOps engineers only.
So directly we can go for this, or we
Yes,
have to
yes,
go
yes,
step
you
by
can.
step.
Uh, it is better to go with fundamentals first, and then we can go with actions.
But there is no restrictions, right?
There is no restrictions, but it is the ideal process we can follow so that we can understand Git first actually. So Git, the fundamentals is nothing but Git, how to create a
Yeah, I
repository, how
think
to
it's
push the code.
okay. This I know basically, but
Yeah, yeah.
uh,
Okay, then you can directly go with actions. There is no restrictions. So once you learn this GitHub Actions course, then you can directly give this GitHub Action certification a shot. Then you can achieve this thing. Then they can identify that as this is a DevOps engineer certification you did, so that we can know the process of deploying our application with the help of GitHub Actions. There involve CI/CD pipelines. I told you, right? Workflows, CI/CD
so
pipelines,
yeah.
automation.
So in getting the certification, how can you help me? I mean, you can help me anything in getting the certification.
Helping in the sense, I can teach you that see here CI/CD pipeline management. It is one of the criteria it needs. Correct. So I'll tell you how to write the CI/CD pipeline and how to write this workflow from the scratch and how to play with this GitHub action so that you can understand each and every topic related to this certification. So once you learn this this course, there you can cover all these certification topics and you can give a examination.
Okay. And if I
Examination
want
support
to,
we can't I'm not right. I don't want to put it like this. So examination support in the sense if you learn this examination point of view, it is will be examination only. So if I tell you the how to deploy, how to create workflows, how to create CI/CD pipeline, how to play with this GitHub actions, then it will be useful for your without examination also you can ready to deploy your application. Correct.
yeah,
So the
without certification is okay. Yeah, everything
the
is fine.
motto is you have to be comfortable with GitHub Actions. That is the first motto. Correct.
Yeah, but in our
So
company, Siemens
so
need the
the
certifications.
Uh,
documents, the
okay,
everything
okay,
you
okay. Then it is fine. So what I can assure you is like if you learn this GitHub Actions, then you can also be confident enough to take the GitHub certifications. Okay.
So
So
how do
what
you
I'll told
suggest?
you is
Should I go for the dumps also? Get the dumps
yeah.
and compare.
So yeah, yeah. So dumps is it is okay. Like you can go or you if you can go or if you can go, it will give you an edge actually. But the actual process you need to know, right? So that is
Yes.
where we have created a action course actually, GitHub Actions course, which will cover all the topics related to GitHub Actions. So by knowing this GitHub, these topics, so we have divided into the modules. So each module I'll tell you in detail with explanation and demo as. So I'll screen share daily and I'll show you what I'm doing and how I'm doing, so that you can understand each and every concept. Okay.
Okay.
So once this all modules has been completed, okay, we will review your certification, what we call certification course actually, certification where we are with the certification. So once this course is completed, I can assure you that you are ready to take the GitHub Action certification.